I'm going to be doing a rant video that's going to further explain what I'm talking about today on my other channel, which is going to go live on Thursday. Today, I want to talk about leaders and the need to train people who work for them to be able to think for themselves, to be creative, to have an open mind and find solutions. My mother happens to be in a rehab facility right now. She had an issue. She spent some days in the hospital, and now she's at the rehab facility. This Thursday, it will be 3 weeks that she's been there. Last Thursday was the first time I actually got to see her because the rehab facility they took her to had a 14-day quarantine. I had been talking to different people multiple times about how my mother gets around in the house and how she gets around at the adult daycare center that she goes to. So when I get there last Thursday, I'm expecting to at least see some kind of improvement in my mother. It turns out that wasn't the case. Why wasn't that the case? Because these well-trained people in physical therapy and occupational therapy could not figure out how to get my mother out of bed. I mean, yes, she's heavy. They're young. They're small. But they couldn't figure out how to get her out of bed. And they said, well, she was fighting us a little bit. We didn't want to, rush her. And we just couldn't explain anything to her. Mom has dementia. No, you can't explain things to her. And I told them multiple times that at home, I have reclining lift chairs. One in the living room, one in the bedroom. She sleeps in it. It's nice and cushy. She loves it because she always hated the bed. And she loves the one in the living room. She's very comfortable in it. She can watch the big screen TV that I got for her when she got here. And she can even nap. And it works out well. So I get there last week. She's agitated. They have no idea. And the first thing I said was, well, have you been trying to get her up with those socks on instead of putting on the shoes? Oh, you think we should put on the shoes? Yes, I think you should put on the shoes because they're rubber soled. They put these socks on that they say are non-slip socks, but if you've ever put on non-slip socks, they slip. So they did that. Then we're going to try to pull her up out of the bed. And they're saying, okay, please help us push you out of bed. I'm thinking, why are you talking to her like that? She has no idea what you're saying. No wonder she's fussing. Eventually, I get them to understand that she can't push off on the bed because there's nothing to push off on. She has very weak arm strength. She's kind of always had that. So that's why I actually got her to the lift chair because it lifts her totally up that she can push forward. Turns out these young folks had never heard of a reclining lift chair. They'd heard of a recliner, but they had no idea what the lift chair did. So then they have this machine there. I can't remember what they call it, but it actually lifts her out of bed. So they do that. And then they've got the walker there and they're saying, okay, put your hand on the walker. And I'm thinking, well, you got this big old thing in the way. How is she supposed to get to it? And I did a stupid thing. I was trying to help lift her. And even though you don't see it right now, I had shoulder surgery a few weeks ago. I should have the sling on, but I don't need it right now just to do a video. So I tried to help, but I could see how futile this was. Finally, one of the people asks, hey, what happens if we put her in a wheelchair? I said, that's the smart move, putting her in the wheelchair because I have the wheelchair at home. And she uses that. She can push herself out of that. That's something she can do. So they use this big old lift thing. They put her in the wheelchair. Now she's a little familiar with the wheelchair. I mean, it's not the same one I have, but wheelchairs are wheelchairs. And now we bring the roller over and say, okay, now stand. Well, now she understands and she pushes and she helps to lift herself up. And now we just balance her. And she's a little shaky because basically for 3 weeks she's been in bed. So she does put her hand on there. And then I said, okay, let's walk. And she's shaky, but she's walking. And both the physical therapist and the occupational therapist say, wow, that's the first time we've seen her walk. I'm thinking she's been here 2 weeks. Y'all haven't done anything with her? That's why she's at rehab. And I didn't beat them up. I did speak to management later on. I spoke to 2 different managers in 2 different departments. Because these are well-trained people. They've got their degrees. They work in a nice place. It's got a rehab facility. They're used to rehabbing people. My mother has dementia. They're trying to talk to her. By the way, it's also a nursing home, but it turns out all nursing homes don't handle dementia people. So they didn't know how to talk to her. Not understanding what a reclining lift chair was means they had no concept of figuring out another way to get her up except for this big old lift thing. And it's got this jammer, this big metal thing in front of her. It's got this belt behind her, so they've lifted her up. But trying to get her around that and trying to explain it to her made absolutely no sense. Eventually, we figured it out with me there, but I'm thinking, had I not been able to get there when I did, would she have just basically stayed in that bed forever? You've got to teach people not just how things work by the book. You have to teach them how to be creative. You have to teach them how to think of a way to get things done. You also probably need to have them talk to the people who work with them or live with them and find out more. If you didn't know what a reclining lift chair was, why didn't you ask me what that was? I kept telling you what it did. I'm thinking, what more can you do? But employers, leaders, managers, directors, whoever you are, you've got to make sure not only that people know what they're doing, but that they can think out of the box, because not everything stays the same forever. Matter of fact, nothing stays the same forever, but things can change in a year, 2 years, 3 weeks, a week, and people need to have the flexibility to figure things out. Tell me I'm wrong. When this first goes out, there's not going to be a link to the Rant video, but it'll be there eventually, and it's going to be much longer. Just got to have my say. Anyway, my name is Mitch Mitchell. Let me know what you think about this leadership tip, and I'll talk to you later.